Alrighty then, it's time for a Kha'Zix game, and this one is following the trend set by my latest videos. And then I'll be talking about Kha'Zix and his state of balance instead. Push two. And I also gotta have this disclaimer. This is a normal game with friends where I'm kind of mildly sick, so don't take it too hard or anything. It's just a very casual game that we are playing. Anyways, it gives me an avenue to talk about Kha'Zix because Kha'Zix, if I was to give a top 10 list of in my opinion, the most well-designed champions, or especially junglers, Kha'Zix would be one of the ones at the top. And in a weird, ironic way, that's actually one of the hardest things about Kha'Zix when it comes to balance, is that he's so well built towards his theme and so well built as a fighter that it makes him impossible to balance. You could say his thematic of being able to evolve and and adapt to any situation makes him ridiculously hard to balance. That's his major problem. Think of it this way. Most champions in this game that are designed just to straight out kill people have a lot of weaknesses that can be exploited. If you have someone like Master Yi, he's mostly just auto attacks with the occasional Q Alpha Strike burst kind of thing, right? Jump in, attack you, you can't slow him, but if you CC him, you can probably burst him down, even if he's building somewhat tanky, right? If you properly focus him and don't let him farm. We've got Yasuo, who's pretty glass cannon, but he's got some tricks to deal with you and whatnot, but it's still pretty limited. Pantheon, he's got his all-in combo, and he's got no way of escaping once he does that, etc, etc. Kha'Zix, on the other hand, has a lot of these things about a fighter and similar weaknesses, but because of his evolutions, he can subvert them. Oh, you need more bursty damage? Evolve your Q first. Just straight up slaughter people. You need more mobility, more ways to cover the ground and surprise enemies? Level up your E. You need some poke, you need some range, you need to play this safely. You got destroyed early game, and now you need to become this kind of range bot. Then there, evolve your W. His ultimate's gone through a lot of changes. Because it's been very strong, sometimes giving them damage reduction and whatnot. So that one, it's not much to talk about it except the stealth and then a little bit of burst of movement speed it gives you. So that's just what Kha'Zix is. His evolution allows him to basically ignore several of the weaknesses that fighters would normally have, and in a way that kind of makes him unfair to some people, being so well built as a fighter in that he could straight out ignore what things you could have expected to use to counter the fighters. Sound a little convoluted, I apologize, but basically look at Kha'Zix. His 1 to level 5 is pretty standard for a lot of assassin-y type of junglers, right? Jump in, burst someone down, stab them a few times, hooray. Then you get level 6 and you get to evolve your abilities in whatever way you want. And as I already said, it would adapt to whatever you need in this game. Like in this one right here, I've been having a difficult time prior level 6 reaching anybody because they're either playing safe or they've got a lot of mobility. So I evolved my E first so I can jump surprise people before they can react and kill them alongside my teammates. In other games, if the enemy team were softer, if they were easier to kill, I could evolve my Q and burst them down. If I was getting to a lot of duels because Master Yi kept deciding to invade me or do something, I could use my evolved Q to punish him for that. And in a way, that's really helpful. Like, I mean, of course it's very helpful. It just allows you to build yourself towards the game in a way that a lot of other champions in your similar situation couldn't deal with it. In essence, Kha'Zix has multiple power spikes available to him, and he can decide which power spike he wants to get. And this isn't including items. This is just pure getting levels. So this makes Kha'Zix just straight out dangerous and something you can't always completely 100% plan yourself around. And in a way, this makes him insanely difficult for Riot to balance. What aspect of his do you hit? Will the other aspects be enough to help him out after nerfing a certain one, or will it still be stronger than usual? As you've seen with Kha'Zix balance, if they hit his W, his Q and his E is still strong enough to make him work. If they nerf both of them, then they kind of put him in the gutter, so they have to keep trying to find this balance for him to fit in. And it's not like he doesn't have absolute counterplay. He does. It's just the counterplay you brought in to deal with him isn't enough because he just decided to evolve himself into a completely different way. And that's why I love Kha'Zix. He's my favorite fighter in the jungle. In close second is Pantheon, but Kha'Zix is just up there. I like being able just to build myself towards. However, I can feel safe playing him because if I get taken down early, I can decide evolve him in a certain different way, and which can still contribute to the team. Not a lot of fighters can even say that. Think of it, all the other fighters in the game that you can take in the jungle: Tryndamere, Pantheon, Lee Sin as well. Technically, he counts, and you can notice their weaknesses. You can notice Lee Sin. He probably the closest to being a super versatile champion. Still has a weakness late game and a weakness actually reaching his targets after team fights start happening because there's a lot of fatties. You notice these weaknesses. So Kha'Zix, as far as things go, is just kind of the best of the best. And how do you nerf him without just absolutely breaking his legs? You know, you guys can help me out on this. How could Kha'Zix be changed in a way in which he'd be statically fine? Because he always goes from being just so goddamn good and complete utter trash. And the neat thing about Kha'Zix, though, is that unlike a lot of other fighters, a lot of people don't really feel always cheated by him. Yeah, no doubt there are people who bitch about Kha'Zix when he's strong, but I've always seen people at least defend him. It's like, you can't just do combos as Kha'Zix. You can't just do it because it takes a person to understand when the isolation is in play, when their best resets will be a play or whatever. You can't be a basic Kha'Zix and do amazingly well. The very incredible Kha'Zix players will shine through, and you will recognize it. Like I think it's a Korean player who plays Kha'Zix and he can do all these multiple jumps as him. I could never dream of doing something like that unless I have so much practice with him. And it's examples like that, what I mean. It becomes more evident with someone playing as Kha'Zix because of the resets and the isolation, bonus damage, and all that cool stuff. So, at the very least, he doesn't feel so bullshitty, right? Still, though, just having so much power outshines all the other fighters and makes it so if Kha'Zix is good, anyone else you pick to try to fill the same role that he's trying to pick, that he's filling, it's just a very, very low second. The only suggestion I had from my higher division friends and fans is they're like, the only ability in his kit that is a little too different from the rest of his abilities is his W, and they feel that if they altered Kha'Zix's W enough, or gave him some very another portion of his combo, they could divide the ability into something proper. And it makes sense, even though it would be a shame for him to lose his little rocket thingies. They're like the most out of place ability for Kha'Zix in terms of what he sort of does. They add a little too much safety if you evolve them or in sort of his versatility. So if they altered it to something else, they might be able to shift some power into shift power up a little bit more evenly. But at the same time, it would kind of kill his evolutionary aspect. That's one thing that Riot has been trying to avoid, but is having difficulty succeeding. They want to preserve this evolution thing they gave to Kha'Zix, and rightfully so. It's a pretty damn awesome theme for him, right? But they can't hit his abilities properly enough without kind of making it so only one is the true evolutionary path. Like we had a point where evolving his W first was like just absolutely strong, and Riot didn't like that, so they nerfed its W, and then E and Q became a good path, and then W became a good path again, and then his ultimate became a good path. So Riot is trying to find that little balance point into where a singular evolution path isn't the best, and that's kind of causing them difficulties. So, yeah, as far as things go, even right now when Kha'Zix sort of sucks for a lot of people, I would still recommend them, because if you're really fucking good at Kha'Zix, you can destroy anybody. Hell, I hadn't played Kha'Zix in a long while, and I decided to pick him up in this one, and you can notice a lot of mistakes I do every now and then, but I fucking still melted a few people, just simply because Kha'Zix is pretty good and rewarding to the players who at least recognize the strengths and can evolve them properly in some ways. So he can definitely carry games even with a shittier win rate. So don't be afraid of picking him. In fact, like if there's any fighter champion that I would recommend you learn from the jungle, I would still say Kha'Zix, because he's pretty damn forgiving despite the fact that he's relying on you being pretty skillful. Because he's got a lot of tools to help you, adapt to the game. His W is very forgiving in ability and it gives you some sustain. So as a fighter, he's very well built and safe to learn. And at least he's got a massively high ceiling for you to feel rewarded as you get better and better as him. Nonetheless, I'm still hoping that Riot kind of figures a way to making him fair, because everything seems to make Kha'Zix go from 0 to 100, and he just kind of and it is a shame because he's very well built and very flavorful for the jungle. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this commentary or this discussion about Kha'Zix. So give me your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. I adore Kha'Zix. Still, I consider him one of the best built champions. It's just a shame that Riot has to keep constantly changing him pretty dramatically in every single ability and every single evolution. So I hope they find some middle ground with him soon, so you don't have to worry about them changing him all of a sudden.